What's up everyone, Laura Cantu here. Welcome to the Best College Aid channel. I am so happy that you're here today. So, a few weeks ago during an Instagram live stream, I talked about my personal college journey and how I managed to make over $45,000 in less than 3 years as a resident assistant. Ever since, I have gotten a lot of questions about what it takes to be a resident assistant, how I managed to get the job in the first place, and what are some of the pros and cons of this job. And since our goal here at Best College Aid is to teach you how to find the right colleges that will help you succeed while paying as little as possible for them, I decided to share my journey so that way you can learn how to save tens of thousands of dollars once it's your turn to go to college. Now, if being an RA is something that you're interested in pursuing, by the end of this video, you will know everything you need to know about the application and interview process. But before I get started, I do need a little favor from you. If you like this video or any of our other videos, can you please help us out by giving this video a like and subscribing to our channel? You see, that way we can continue to make helpful content that will set you and many other students on the path to success. Alright, now that that's done, let's get into today's video. Alright, so after my first semester of freshman year, I found out that my college was about to raise its tuition for the following year. And unfortunately, my scholarships and financial aid would not be enough to cover all of the costs of my education. Since I wanted to avoid having to take out student loans, I began to look for a job on campus that could help me pay for my tuition. I remember I looked everywhere, but unfortunately, none of the positions I found would help me cover all of my expenses. Luckily, during my first semester, I had become really close to my freshman year RA, Melanie. So one day, I decided to explain my situation to her and ask for her advice. After listening to me, she gave me some very valuable input that changed the course of my entire college experience. You see, Melanie told me that being a resident assistant was one of, if not the highest paying job college students can have on campus. In fact, at our school, resident assistants received free room and board as well as a yearly meal plan. Melanie was also very honest with me and she let me know that being an RA was not necessarily an easy job. For example, RAs have to have good communication and leadership skills, as they are often required to organize events like weekly meetings with residents or campus-wide programs. After listening to everything Melanie had to say, I realized that I would be a great candidate for the position. You see, since I was the president of the National Honor Society my senior year of high school, I had some experience with both leadership and organization. I personally also loved the idea of getting to work with college staff and teachers, and not to mention, getting the position would help me cover the price of room and board, which at my school was around $15,000 a year. So applying for the job was a no-brainer for me. Alright, so now I'm going to explain the interview and application process, so if you'd like to be on RA someday, make sure you stick around. At my school, students were not allowed to apply for the RA position until their second semester of freshman year, which was exactly what I did. I applied as soon as I was eligible, and the application process lasted all of second semester. Now, other schools might have slightly different policies, but in general, students have to go through at least one semester of college to become eligible to apply. My application process had many stages. The first one and the easiest one was the written application. For this process, all you had to do was fill out a few forms and gather a couple of recommendation letters. As I mentioned, I was really close to my freshman year RA, so she actually volunteered to write one of my letters. I also had to submit a resume listing all of my work and leadership experience, as well as filling out a few short response questions. Additionally, there was a 3.0 GPA requirement for students, and the position was open to both US citizens and international students. Once again, this may vary from school to school, but overall, the process is similar in most institutions. Once the selection committee reviewed our written applications, they would weed out the students and choose the ones who made it to the second round, the personal interview. This was an interview process in which a resident director and a resident assistant would sit together and interview the applicants. By the way, a resident director is basically the person who is in charge of all the RAs living in one building. So, in other words, a resident director is an RA's boss. Hopefully that makes sense. The interview portion of the application was extremely professional. It consisted of some pretty hard questions about our past experience and how we react to specific situations. So I recommend anyone that is looking to apply and go through this process to really prepare for the interview portion. I remember being asked about how I would deal with roommate conflicts, policy violations, emergencies, etc. Now, don't panic if you get it wrong. At this point, students are not really expected to know everything about the job. These interviews usually help the selection committee see how quick you are on your feet. There's actually a whole training process that prepares you to deal with all sorts of scenarios, which I will talk about later on. Alright, so once the interview portion was over, you'd be called back for the final round of the application process, the group interviews. During this portion of the process, we were asked to work together to solve several problems, and we were also interviewed as a group. After we were done with all the stages of the application, it took about a month to hear back from the housing office on whether or not I had gotten the job. I can still remember the feeling that I got when I first received my "you're hired" email. I mean, I was so happy and grateful to my friend Melanie for being such an amazing mentor who helped me find this amazing opportunity. So Melanie, if you're watching this, you're awesome. Now I'm going to move on to my personal experience as a resident assistant. Once I accepted the position, I was required to attend RA training, which took place a week or two before school started. Now, full disclaimer, Melanie was right. Being an RA is not an easy job. I was definitely not as mentally prepared as I should have been going into the position. You see, I initially had a very hard time balancing schoolwork as well as my personal relationships. Luckily, I reached out to my boss and asked for his help. He guided me through some of the hurdles and often reminded me of all the amazing opportunities that this job had to offer. You see, throughout my time as an RA, I made a lot of friends that I still talk to this day. Since we were required to do programs throughout the year, I was able to form connections with students, staff, and teachers. As a matter of fact, one of the professors I met during a program I helped organize helped me find an internship with ESPN, which was pretty cool. And not to mention, I saved over $45,000 in the 3 years I was on RA, which helped me graduate with little to no debt. So I guess I can say that the whole experience, the ups and downs, were definitely worth it. Finally, I do want to mention one thing. If you want to be on RA, you have to be willing to do the work. This position can be stressful as you are sometimes forced to work under pressure and deal with some pretty difficult situations. That being said, some of those difficult or sometimes complicated situations taught me lifelong lessons I will carry with me everywhere. I do want to make more videos about my whole experience as an RA, so if that is something that you would be interested in, please let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you're interested in learning some secrets on how to go to college with scholarships, my brother David has made a free training for you where he goes over some pretty valuable information. I attached the links to the training down below, which, by the way, is available in both English and Spanish, so please make sure to check that out. Well, that was all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, don't forget to ask us any questions down below. I'll see you next week.